Okay, so our final panel here are candidates for the PUD. And Tony Hawley is not here at the moment, but I understand that he may wander in and we have a seat for him if he does. Okay, so let's take it away. And Lauren, you're going to start, right?
All right, check. Hi everyone, I'm Lauren McCloy. I live about halfway between Twisp and Carlton with my husband Keller and our 2-year-old daughter Ruby. And I'm running for Okanogan PUD Commissioner because I care about keeping our energy and internet services affordable and reliable. I have over 10 years of experience working in energy policy, including 7 years with the state of Washington. And I've dedicated my career to helping people understand energy and utility issues. That's what I do. In those roles, I worked with legislators across the aisle to pass bipartisan landmark energy legislation and secured agreements with utilities around the state to adopt consumer-friendly rate design, increase energy efficiency and demand management, and keep low-income and vulnerable customers connected to essential services. And now as a mom, I want to use my experience to help ensure a prosperous future for my daughter and our community. Our energy grid is under a lot of stress from extreme weather, wildfires, low water, and increasing demand. And our PUD doesn't have a long-term vision or plan for addressing our energy needs under these circumstances. I'm concerned that this kind of short-term thinking is going to result in us paying more for power that's less reliable, and I think that's unacceptable. I would work to secure more long-term, cost-effective energy and to help keep bills affordable by helping customers make energy improvements to their homes and businesses to keep their energy bills low. I would also work to get more customers connected to high-speed internet in the county. And I know you're all here tonight to hear what we have to say to candidates, but I think, as most folks know, public service is really all about listening. And I'm committed to making sure that there is open, honest, and transparent communication between the commission and the people and businesses in Okanogan County to ensure that the commission is accountable. And I would be honored to have your vote. Thank you.
My name is Wayne Bud Stevie. Anyhow, I'm running for PUD Commissioner, District 2. Anyhow, I grew up in this valley. We started out on a small farm, which graduated into an apple orchard, which I grew up in Carlton, went to high school there. I have 4 children, 3 live here with their families. I have 9 grandchildren here. Anyhow, I worked, in the early days I worked in the timber industry where I cut timber. From there I did a 4-year apprenticeship and became a lineman for the co-op in Winthrop. There I ended up running the line crew. I dealt with management, union negotiations, budgets on our crew side. I've done just about everything that there is to do besides being the manager of that co-op. I know the electrical industry pretty much inside and out, but there is a lot more to learn. Thank you.
Good evening. Maybe good evening. Let's try that.
Good evening. Well, that's better. My name is Bill Collier. I am actually the current District 2 PUD Commissioner. My background, I'm a retired senior chief. I spent 27 years in the United States Navy. My technical specialty is I'm a submarine sonar, which is why I never ever cut my hair because there's scars. Yeah, it gets a little touchy sometimes. I have a significant background in organizational design and systemic theory, cultural anthropology, and put all of those skills to use in my career in the Navy. My wife and I were born and raised here. We graduated from Okanogan High School in 1969, which still kind of amazes me. But as a PUD commissioner, one of the things that I have looked at, because I worked at Chief Joe Dam, so I understand hydropower. I know how it's generated and what it takes to generate it and maintain it. I also understand the technical aspects of an electrical grid. And quite frankly, to some degree, Lauren is right. Our grid only has a small capacity left because and rebuilding that grid is expensive. Okay? But we do have a very secure and stable network, not only for the electrical grid, but for the internet, the connectivity to allow people on the internet through our fiber network. I would greatly appreciate your vote. I have an extensive background, and thank you.
Okay, I'm going to read the next question again. You only have a minute to answer this. It might take someone an hour. But, and there's a big preamble to this that I'm not going to read, but it's about the Columbia River Treaty, which is up for renegotiation. And the question is, what impact does the expiration of the Columbia River Treaty have on the Okanogan PUD, and how does our PUD participate in negotiating the Canadian entitlement? I think we're going, but yeah.
Will you repeat this one more time?
What impact does the expiration of the Columbia River Treaty have on the Okanogan PUD, and how does our PUD participate in negotiating the Canadian entitlement?
And this treaty, it has to come to light within the PUD. They have to make this happen because we need those blocks of power. If we don't have those, alternative energy is not going to work. They have to have that hydropower. And as far as all the regulations go, I am quite unsure about this.
Okay.
The Columbia River Treaty will obviously have an impact on Okanogan PUD. Okanogan PUD is not involved in the negotiations between Canada and the United States coming to an agreement on the Columbia River Treaty. That, and quite frankly, they have reached an agreement in principle, and both sides are moving towards that agreement. So they actually have an agreement in principle, but it's not signed yet. Okanogan PUD doesn't have a dam. We don't generate power. So we have to purchase our power from other facilities, like we work with Wells Dam. We purchase power from Wells Dam. We purchase power from BPA. So we don't have a dam and don't have any direct contact on the negotiations of that treaty.
Thank you. Lauren.
So this is a really hard question. I couldn't believe we only had a minute to talk about it. The Columbia River Treaty is absolutely critical, not just for hydropower, but also for agriculture and fish and tribal interests in our region. And Bill's right, there is an agreement in principle that was announced a little over a week ago. And it does make some changes that I think are going to be really helpful for Okanogan PUD, actually. It did, in fact, reduce what's called the Canadian entitlement which is the amount of money basically that we pay Canada for their share of the hydropower benefits that are generated by our dams, federal dams. And I happened to be on a call with the BPA administrator, John Hairston, a couple days before this was announced, and he said that that part of the agreement is actually going to go into effect on August 1st. So that means that we will actually see some benefits from that, and in turn, like lower rates from Bonneville this year, which is going to be super helpful. And I'll stop there.
Okay, so let's see. I think, Bill, you're going to start off on this one. Is that right? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay. So this is another one of those questions that has a big, long preamble, but I'm just going to cut to the chase here and say, what is your opinion regarding the removal of the Enlow Dam?
I support the removal of Enlow Dam. The Okanogan County PUD is working with a group of non-governmental organizations, commonly referred to as NGOs, and that group of NGOs has gotten together and are looking to determine if it is indeed feasible or possible to remove Enlow Dam, and if that would be done, what would the impacts be? And we don't have answers to those questions yet, but what we do have is this does not cost the ratepayers anything. We got tired, quite frankly, of people represented in government agencies, and what they were espousing to us is their own principles, their own philosophies, not principles of the organization. So now we talk to the head of the organization, and we have a program manager that the NGOs will pay for. But I support the removal.
Thank you, Lauren.
I also support the removal of Enlow Dam. I support the work that the commission has done to adopt a resolution saying the conditions under which it would support dam removal. And I support the ongoing feasibility assessment, which I think we're going to be, it will be finalized by the end of the year, and the commission will be making a decision about whether to move forward with phase 2 of that process. It is really important to have a robust public process around this decision. There are a lot of people who care a lot about what the sediment characterization looks like, landowners who are downstream of that dam who have concerns about that, and I think it's really important to have a robust public process so that the public is informed and engaged when it's time for the commission to make a decision. But I do support removal. I think it's just like any other infrastructure. Once the cost of keeping it there exceeds the benefits, we need to find some other solution, and I think it's time to make that decision.
To me, Enlow Dam is kind of a can of worms. You have to support what the PUD is currently doing towards Enlow Dam. Whether they're removing it, whether they're leaving it there, I do not feel it's going to take millions of dollars to remove this. And I would surely would not like to see the ratepayers get burdened with this cost. There's also sediment in front of that dam. It's going to have to be cleaned up. Like Grand Coulee Dam, we're not sure what's in that sediment. If it's toxic, we're going to get burdened with cleaning that up, which would be nice to clean it up. Our neighbors to the north have polluted our rivers. You can do that. You can look at Grand Coulee Dam. You can look at the fish there. They recommend not to eat. I think we're really going to have to look at this.
Thank you. Oh, challenge. Okay, good. We got those paddles going.
Maybe this is more of just a clarification. I did just want to clarify that our commission has established the criteria under which it would support dam removal, and it does specifically include no new cost to customers and no liability for the PUD. So those, I support those criteria, I support that resolution, and if we're going to move forward with dam removal, the the expectation is that it would require the creation of a separate dam removal entity, which would take on that liability and take on those costs so that we don't pay for it.
Thank you. I'm glad we're using the paddles correctly and not whacking each other. Okay, let's see. Bill, you started, so Lauren, you're next, right? You're starting on this one. So this question is, the long-term contract for purchasing power from the Bonneville Power Administration is going to be negotiated and renewed in 2025. Please tell us what we can expect, what you would prioritize in the new contract that would bring the most benefit to ratepayers.
So we currently get most of our power from the Bonneville Power Administration through a long-term contract that will end at the end of 2028. And Bonneville is looking for its power customers, all the PUDs, to sign new contracts by the end of 2025. Those will be 16-year contracts. And we will have some choices to make about what kind of product we want to get from Bonneville. And for me, I think the priority will be, we're absolutely going to sign a new contract with Bonneville, that's for sure, but I think the questions around what type of product are going to be really important for Okanogan PUD, because we do want to make sure that it preserves our flexibility to get some of our own resources, which we're going to need going forward. Whether that's new energy resources or whether that's increasing our energy efficiency and demand management resources, we want to make sure that the contract that we sign gives us control over our own resources and does not lock us into a deal that's going to hand over more control to Bonneville.
BPA power, I think right now the PUD is getting about 57% of their power from BPA. These contracts are crucial. We need their power. They're getting around, let's see, less than 30% from Wells Dam, 4% from wind that comes out of the Tri-Cities area. My biggest fear is BPA raising the cost of power to the PUD. It could be substantial. I think it really has to get somebody in there to negotiate this with them.
Would you read that question one more time?
It says long-term contract for purchasing power from the Bonneville Power Administration is going to be negotiated and renewed in 2025. Please tell us what you would expect and what you would prioritize in the new contract to bring the most benefit to the ratepayers.
We are currently negotiating with other entities, not BPA, on the prospect of buying power. If you don't understand, power is sold on a commodities market. I would tell you it's like buying cattle. People actually bid on it. Okay? We're working and looking ahead, actually, it's past 2025, 2030. We're looking up to 25 or 30 years ahead on how much and in what capacity we will need to buy power. And BPA is certainly in that mix. Okay, I promise you BPA is in that mix. And we want to keep BPA in that mix because that keeps the rates low. But we base our power needs on the ratepayers, and we do everything we can to make sure the ratepayers have the lowest price power that we can provide.
Thank you. Clearly, we're getting into technical areas that most of us in the audience don't understand, so thank you. So, final question here, and we're going a little global here. Looking into the future, what do you think will have the biggest impact on electric rates in the coming years? What should ratepayers expect, and what can the PUD do to influence that? And I would just throw in that we're all aware of things like climate change, the popularity of electric vehicles, growing needs for air conditioning, competition for power from, server farms, et cetera. Anyway, if you could just speak to what do you think the biggest challenges are going to be going forward on rates and what we can do about it.
My turn?
I personally, I'm a big advocate of hydropower. And I think to keep our rates affordable, we need to keep our dams. There's been a lot of talk about Snake River dam removals, Columbia River dam removals, all this, but it is the cleanest way to make energy in the world. It's clean, it's effective. And they said between the Columbia River and the Snake River, those dams, there is enough capacity to power 30% of this world. That's a lot of capacity. And I think that's where our cheapest power is going to come from. Some of these wind farms, they're not cost effective. It's nice to have them, it's nice to have an alternate source, but I'm waiting, technology to me is not there. This is why I am an advocate for our dams.
Bill?
Again,
I read off script a little bit, but the basic question is, looking to the future, what do you think will have the biggest impact on electric rates in the coming years? And I said things about electric cars and on and on and on. What should ratepayers expect, and what can the PUD to influence rates?
but the PUD, the way a PUD influences rates is how they negotiate to buy power from whatever source they're negotiating, be it BPA, Wells Dam, whoever it might be. So the PUDs negotiate the price of that power, okay? Particularly for long-term contracts. But you can expect it, and Bud used the key word, technology. The government, the Washington state government, is outstepping technology. They are simply a little behind the curve on developing the needed technology to do what they want to do. And as that technology comes in, we'll be able to employ it. But Okanogan PUD is, nobody's negotiating with us for the price of that power. We bid on
it. I think the biggest challenge for our PUD really comes down to numbers. We have the biggest county in the state, and we have a relatively small population over which to spread the costs of serving the needs of our county. For every $500,000 that's in our PUD's budget, that represents a 1% rate increase on customers. That is a significant challenge going forward. And I think when you look at things like, purchase power, as Bill was talking about, it's the largest line item in the budget. And if we need to go out and buy more power, that's just going to be more money that we end up having to charge customers for. So I think finding the lowest cost, most cost-effective resources to continue to meet our loads so that we can stop buying the most expensive power on the market, which costs 3 times what we pay Bonneville or Douglas PUD. To me, that is the main goal and also the main challenge, because power prices are continuing to go up due to all the reasons that we've been talking about. But in my view, the biggest challenge for our PUD is really fundamentally comes down to numbers. We don't have that many people, and we have a very large system that we have to keep investing in. So, thank you.
Thank you. So we are now at the closing statement. You have a minute for this. And Bill, we'll start with you.
I would certainly appreciate your vote, and I would urge you to really take a look at how the PUD is run, come to a meeting, see exactly what the PUD deals with. It is a very difficult process, and we're talking about a public utility district that has millions of dollars it takes to run that, and we're operating that business on a less than 3% margin. So that's a very, very tight budget. Okay? And as we grow, we're going to need more power, and the negotiations are in place. I am one of the three that makes that final determination. So I would encourage your support, and thank you for the.
Thank you, Lauren.
So I'm not from here, but I knew when I moved here, and I had my daughter here, Allison was there, that this was going to be my home. And I'm very committed to this community. I love it. We're going to be here a very long time. I wanted to put my name in the hat for PUD Commissioner because this is what I do for a living, is talk to people about energy issues. I'm engaged on these issues in my current job all the time. When I started paying attention to what the PUD was doing, I really felt like it was a way that I could give back to this community and serve this community for the full term. I do also just want to acknowledge that as you know, when we came here, my father was diagnosed with brain cancer. I had a very tough time with the transition, and it really caused me to just think about how I'm spending my time. Am I having the kind of impact that I want to have in my community? And so when this opportunity came to my attention, I knew that I had to give it a shot. So thank you, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you.
As you can tell, the way I speak, I'm not a career politician. I'm an old lineman. I know how to deal with line crews. I'm a consumer. There's things that are important to me. Rates as a consumer, which I am myself and have been for a long time. Number two, personnel. People that go to work every day, they have homes to buy. Their jobs need to be kept. They have families to raise. And those things are quite dear to me. I can deal with anything on that line side, all them crews, from the mechanics to the line superintendents. I've done it all. And those people are hardworking, and they're very special to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We get up every day and we turn the lights on and take for granted that we'll be there. And I think this is a reminder of all the work and people and complexity behind that electricity. So thank you for being here tonight, and let's give them a hand.